Really? What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to discuss prefab and port box tuning and all this stuff. It's a little annoying. I mean, I'm not really annoyed, but I'm just over it. And what I mean is, I'm, I guess, tired, annoyed by every time you post a video about a subwoofer box, a prefab box, or any kind of box, any kind of build, one of the first and seemingly most important questions asked is, what's it tuned to? What kind of box? Who built your box? And this is not against anybody who built boxes before or anything like that, but it's become annoying to me to the point where people don't believe a prefab box can sound good, or they don't believe if your box is not tuned to 20 hertz or 10 hertz or 30 hertz or something like that, that it doesn't sound good. And it's become annoying because a lot of times there's people that don't know much about car audio that are talking that trash and asking those questions. And that's not to say that I'm an expert in car audio. However, I do have over 20 years in. I mean, my reputation in certain circles speaks for itself. I came in the car audio world, doing DB drag racing. And I mean, you can look at my build I put up. I mean, it's old pictures because I wasn't really into pictures then, but it's an old picture. But still, I built that wall with these hands, these mitts, man. I built that wall myself. I put it in, and I won a crap load of trophies when I used to compete DB drag. Again, that's not to say that I'm an expert. However, I do know the game. My name is out there for people to look and see. I did it. So when I see people talking about prefab is trash, that's not necessarily the case. Now, back in the early 90s when I was in the game, yeah, they used to make prefab boxes out of particle board. Yeah, man, particle board. And the boxes would blow apart. I mean, you put a heavy enough sub in there. I don't even know how we screwed the subs in the first place, because the screws would just eat through the particle board as it was. But then with the particle board box, you put a big enough sub in there with enough power, it would literally blow the box apart. Now, fast forward 20 years, or even before I got back in the game, 5-10 years later, prefab boxes are built by people like me who used to build boxes when I used to compete. These are not store-bought, factory-pressed prefab boxes that are made from particle board or even cheaper materials or plywood or something like that. These are legit built boxes by people who know the game, by carpenters, by people who really know how to build. And more importantly, very much more importantly to me, is I've been to a ton of SPL shows, demos, SQ shows, especially as of late, a lot of SQ shows. And what I've noticed is nobody that's a professional in the game, nobody asks, is that a prefab box? Even more important than that, they can't tell. They cannot tell until I tell them I actually have a prefab box. Even when I talk about my Dayton Audio DSP, I mean, I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but still, people talk about, oh, Dayton DSP is trash. You can't tell. You can't sit in my car and be like, is that a Moscone? Is that an Alpine? Is that a Helix? You cannot tell until I tell you. So if actual champion SQ guys and champion SPL guys can sit in my car and not say, that sounds like a prefab, why would you in the comments say that it's just a prefab or something, as if it's not built well? You can't tell that it's a prefab until I tell y'all. And I told y'all just so I can avoid the questions of people asking, what's your box tuned to? Only reason I mentioned tuning, because I got caught up in the trend. I'm guilty too, but it got annoying. I got annoyed with myself. So, but if the manufacturer says the box is tuned to a certain frequency, I'm not going to buy the box and immediately go testing it to make sure it's tuned to that frequency. I'm going to take their word for it. And here's another key factor. If, for example, just say my box, according to manufacturer specs, my box is tuned to 33, 34 hertz, somewhere around there, right? Just say, well, the rule is your box is loudest and your woofer moves less. It's more efficient at the tuning frequency, right? We're not going to be sitting here listening to music, not test tones. We're not going to be sitting here listening to music and say, oh, I heard it. That's 33 hertz. Nobody does that. You know, music is transient. Music moves. You put your music on an oscilloscope, a sine wave, an RTA, it moves, right? So we're not going to sit here and try to find songs that were built, mixed, or whatever around 33 hertz or whatever your box is tuned to. I mean, so that makes that discussion obsolete. It makes it irrelevant. It makes it annoying more than anything. And I guess I'm talking about it now because I had someone on my channel that I had to block because I was talking about my prefab box versus my other prefab box, the Harmony Audio versus the Sound Ordnance box. And all they kept saying, oh, bro, your box is not tuned to 33. It's more like 44 hertz and this and that. I mean, it's like, okay, why? Like, if I didn't say it, you wouldn't know it. And now that you did say it, what's your point? You know what I'm saying? What are you trying to prove? Other than when I did DB drag racing, I tuned my box to a certain frequency because that was the loudest note that it was going to play when I was trying to hit that loudest SPL number. Otherwise, because music is transient, transitory, or whatever the word is I'm looking for, you're not going to hear that peak. You're not going to be listening to a song and then it plays through whatever musical nuances that it has, and then you're like, oh, I heard the 33 hertz, I heard the 20 hertz, I heard whatever hertz. So, and don't get me wrong, you know, 20 hertz does sound good, it sounds smooth. You know, I talk about how I wanted a JL12W7 because it plays those super duper lows. But, I mean, that's the subwoofer in conjunction with the box, of course. Same thing with my Stereo Integrity 12 with the Harmony Audio box. It plays those lows just the same. But even if my box is not tuned to 20 hertz, it still sounds great. And it's still loud. It plays all the transitions of music. And I'm not missing anything. My crossovers frequency are from 24 hertz to 80 hertz. I play music within that spectrum. I hear all the notes in that spectrum. It's not like it's not playing anything and then it gets super loud at 33, 34 hertz and then it gets mellow around the other frequencies. Doesn't do that. So why? And, you know, and I guess I just had to get that off my chest, man. It's just annoying because it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know, again, I've had demos. People had champions sit in my car, like legit SQ champions sit in my car and not once say, oh, is that a prefab? And the legit real champions that know the music and know the game and are not cocky about the game, they're like, sounds good. You know, again, these boxes that are prefab built are built by professional builders. There are a lot of people on YouTube that sell their boxes. They're prefab to a certain degree, right? I mean, kind of, sort of, because you didn't build it. You didn't tune it specifically yourself. So wouldn't it be prefab for you? I mean, I guess it's custom built because you're telling the frequency you want, but it's still prefab. So anyway, I wanted a box that was going to play 33, 34 hertz. I found this Harmony Audio. It plays 33, 34 hertz. It's prefab. If I would have built it myself, you know what? I can pretty much guarantee you it would have sounded the same. Because I looked at that box before I bought it, looked at all the specs, looked at how it was built. Yeah. You know, like, let's see, 3/4 inch MDF all the way around. Yeah. 1 inch MDF on the front. If not 1 inch baffle, it would have 2 sheets of a 3/4 inch MDF stack just to make sure it doesn't move. That box doesn't move. It is rock solid, and I'll prove it. You tell me if this sounds like a prefab box. Anyway, now that I've gotten that off my chest, I hope you guys like, subscribe, and follow the channel. Share the channel. Join the discussion. I appreciate you guys following me along the way, and I hope to see you guys here with me in the future. And until then, stay tuned.